Artsy Gamer 7, and welcome back to some more of the D&D Create a Sim. And this will actually be the last character for this series. I easily could do like a series 2 and potentially eventually a 3, depending on how I keep creating characters, basically, which I love creating characters. So high probability I could eventually do a series 3, and also depending on how many I decide to do in the next series. I probably made this one a little big. I got a little excited and ambitious over the thought of doing the little mini series where I take all these characters and put them into the same household and treat it like a reality show. So I got a little carried away. So in the future, if I did this series again, I would probably do less characters in a series before pausing it and doing like a new series, because I like to change it up every once in a while. I probably will bring back Pokemon series again as well, which all of my Pokemon Creative Sims are on my old channel, but feel free if you want to go look at those. So, but yeah, I definitely make enough characters. I mean, obviously Create a Sim is one of the favorite things I have for Sims, and I love making, even if you can't fully know the stories of the characters that are in my head when I make them in Sims, because I like having those stories, and I like any games where you can create a character, and I always sort of give them a little personality behind them, even if you can't necessarily see it in the game. While I'm playing it, I'm sort of imagining how they would actually respond. I do that in Skyrim so much. Like, I make a character and I'm like, okay, this is how they're gonna act. This is their personality. I may not react this way if I was in this situation, but this character would. So I really love that type of stuff, and the fact that I technically didn't look into something like D&D before I met my husband is sort of baffling, actually. But here we go. I now know a lot more about D&D. Still not much. I still am very much noob to D&D things, but I do know more about D&D, and I also have things like Sims here, so I combine them and make my creations in multiple ways. So yeah, this will be the last character for this series for now. Let me know down in the comments below if you would eventually like to see some of my other D&D characters. Definitely have enough to do a series 2 and probably a series 3. But definitely a series 2. In fact, this character, I had been creating characters, and I have like a little booklet that has all my D&D characters, like brief info of them anyway. And I have a book with all that stuff. And for this Create a Sim series, I mentioned in some of the older videos, I was going down the line from since I created them. So the very first character, D&D character I ever created was Nita. And I went from Nita and went onward. There were a few characters that I skipped because I just could not think of a way to translate them well into Sims. I have since come across CC that I actually probably could create those characters now. But I skipped like 2 or 3 characters, if that. I definitely know it was no more than 3. I believe it was just 2. And I skipped them for the purpose of I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it. This lovely lady here named Azealia, Autumnnight. She's the only one I broke the rule for. Because I created her pretty far down the line. I had started making this Sim series. I don't remember how far in I had created her. But I created her, and then I connected her back to a character that I'd made previously. And it just happens to be a character that is in this series. And I couldn't resist adding her in because of the story. And you might, granted, it's been a while since I've got to post, so it may be in a while since you've watched the video of the other character, but you might have a slight idea who I'm talking about, who Azealia here is going to be connected to. But there is like, I actually think I counted, there is like 13 or 14 characters in my little character book of character creations that I actually came up and created before her that are not part of this Create a Sim series because I purposely skipped, like, she wasn't going to be in this series at all, but because I ended up connecting her story to the story of another one, and the fact that it could potentially produce some drama in this mini-series that I am doing at the end of this create a sim and the build that is going alongside with it. I was like, I have to add her. I have to. I'm hoping she's one of them that's going to bring some drama into this. We'll see. Keep an eye out for the mini-series to see if that happens. But anyway, let's actually get to meet Azealia here. So, Azealia Autumnnight, she is... Oh no, my paper has moved on me. She is a wood elf. Also, elves have a special place in my heart. So I know to some people, all elves or whatever elves and like sub races or whatever, but then some people are like really, like me, are really keen to having these different sub races because, you know, you branch off with them. And my husband is one of those people, he loves the more monster-like races. He likes the orcs, the bugbears, you know. He likes that path. He doesn't really like the humanoid-ish characters. I definitely probably am more humanoid-ish characters, personally. But elves, especially. I love my elves. It may be the fact that one of my favorite things is Legend of Zelda, and even though they're called Hylians, it's definitely a reference to elves to some degree. I don't know. I love elves, okay? And the fact that he kept making fun of the fact that I kept making elves, and then I would be like, yeah, but this one's a blah 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 elf, and they're like, they're just elves. So now I've made it a goal to purposely make as many different sub-races of elves in my D&D characters as possible. I have even the Eldrin elf, I think if I'm saying it right, it's supposed to be like a seasonal elf. I got rid of that. In my head, there's not just a one scope of seasonal elf, there is actually a different elf for each season. And I have even come up with little sub-race names for them. So, but anyway, Wood Elf is not one of those. Wood Elf is actually one of those really common ones that is a sub-race in a lot of things like Skyrim, and like D&D actually has like official, I think, well, I don't know if it's fully official, but you can find it very easily, like a sub-race of Wood Elves. But yeah, anyway, that's what she is. She's a Wood Elf. And she is the young age of 118, which for an elf is actually quite young. She is 6'2". I realize in my last two voiceovers, I did not mention what Zahara and Helia was as far as their classes and subclasses. I hope to remember in editing to at least put it on the screen what they are. But for Azealia here, she is a cleric / druid. Like, if she makes it to level 20, she will be both. More cleric than anything. She's life domain and then circle of the land, particularly forest. So yeah, she is very big on nature, and she has this very huge, kind heart, and being connected to nature and keeping an order and having a balance, and certain things are supposed to be done a certain way, and that's how she's been taught, and that's how she feels, and she tries to keep up with those ways and be proper. But then eventually at some point there's a little twist thrown her way when she runs into a guy who is a if I can say this right, a Shadakai, that it's another sub-race of elves that is slightly similar to dark elves, but not exactly. And he throws a twist into things because with her particular, like, way of life and how she grew up and religion and all that stuff taught her that those types of elves are not good. They are not to be associated with. You should not be around them. But she ends up falling in love with him. But then her peers and everyone just get to her head and is like, what are you doing? You're gonna be punished by gods and all this stuff, and it really puts a lot of pressure on her, and they keep convincing her, like, hey, this guy would be so much better for you. You should go out with him. So she sort of starts secretly going out with that guy to try to forget the other guy, but she hasn't really talked to the other guy about it, that she is not really planning on staying with him anymore because there's a part of her that's still torn and she is doing a very wrong thing, but she feels like she's partially trying to do a right thing. She's very confused. But she eventually gets caught in the act of going on a date and actually being lovey with this other guy, even though in reality, technically, she's forcing a lot of it. She's kissing him even though she doesn't want to kiss him. but she feels like this is what she's supposed to do. This is the right thing to do because what she was doing was against the gods and all this sort of stuff, against nature, against the balance of things. So she's got in her head that she's just got to force this. Even if she's not fully a fan of it, she's got to force this. But then the sight of the one that she actually does have feeling for, catching her being with another and just seeing him completely break and shatter really does hurt her a lot. And then she's in this turmoil of what in the world should I do, because what I did feels more wrong than what I was told was wrong. She's a good person who definitely made some really bad mistakes. And the character that this happened to is known as Ivar. So Ivar from earlier on in the series is the one that she actually did have feelings for, and she completely crushed him. Those two have a very close connection. They have a romantic connection that has been severed in a really bad way. And now they're going to be thrown into a house together, and we're going to see what happens. But yeah, she is definitely a very easygoing, sort of nature-loving person who now feels very confused and very unsure of what path she's supposed to take. Should she take? What should I listen to? Should I listen to my heart, my brain, other people? I don't know. She is sort of in a state of unsureness. So she is a sweet girl, but she definitely did some wrong things. But overall, I imagine that she just does have this overwhelming presence of being very kind. And like, if you heard that she technically cheated on someone, that she broke someone's heart, you would possibly not believe someone at first. That is like, oh no, Azealia could never do that. She is too kind-hearted of a person. But in reality, she did. She definitely was the one more in the wrong, because Ivar didn't do anything bad. Yeah, he was the race he was, but he can't change that. And technically, yeah, long term, he hasn't done the best, but he was partially in a situation of no one would give him the benefit of the doubt. So why? But Azealia was sort of changing that for him. Like, she's seen the good in him, and then that was broken. But that's why she was sort of added last minute into this series. I wanted to try to fit as much drama into this mini-series. I am looking forward to this. I've actually already started setting up the relationships, because obviously as I created them in Creator Sims, they had no relationships to any of these other characters, even if they were supposed to know them. So I've already started setting up relationships. I've even got family member relationships setting up. I've already went through the process of making these Ivar and Azealia Sims know that at one point they were a thing and now they are broken up. So I have already been doing this background work, and I am hoping that a lot happens. But we will see. So shortly after, there should be an update to when the mini-series is going to start. And so keep an eye out for that. There's probably going to be one or two more build-related videos after Azalea's Creator Sim here. At least that's what I'm imagining is going to be. So it definitely will not come out until both the Creator Sim and the mansion build is done. So as soon as that's done, both of them are done, look out for an update video for the release of the mini-series, the little reality show with my D&D characters, to see what in the world is going to happen. Oh, before I forget, I forget things in almost all of these Creator Sims. Talk about her things real quick. Azealia, I did give her the Zen Guru aspiration again. She's sort of like a nice, easygoing, natured person. She loves the outdoors, she's a green fiend, and she's proper, are going to be the main traits I give her. Again, she's an outdoorsy nature type person. She likes to be outside. And then if the other things work, I'm also going to give her perfectionist and paranoid. Paranoid coming from the fact that she's in a state of unsure of what she's doing is right or wrong at this point, because some things feel both right and wrong, and she's having a hard struggle figuring out which one is, partially because she is a perfectionist. So she wants to do things correctly and she wants to do them right, but she's just at the point that she just doesn't know what is right and wrong at this point fully. Because one way says this is wrong and this is right, and then the other way says the complete opposite. So, but yeah, look forward to the mini-series. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on Azealia and her backstory, how she turned out. I think the sim is beautiful, so I love her. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll hopefully see you when the mini-series starts. But until then, bye-bye!